Good afternoon and welcome to the program. In the war-ravaged shadows of Gaza, where families cling to survival amid rubble and ruin, an unexpected development brews. Hamas, facing international pressure and relentless Israeli bombardment, has confirmed that ceasefire negotiations are still alive and ongoing, despite the intense rhetoric coming from Tel Aviv and Washington. Yet, behind the scenes, another front is opening, a political one. President Trump's administration has thrown its full weight behind Prime Minister Netanyahu's campaign against international recognition of a Palestinian state. In contrast, France has taken a bold diplomatic step that could reshape the Middle East future. Is a historic agreement within reach, or is it being deliberately unraveled? Welcome to In Depth. As Gaza faces mass starvation and a 22-month war is ongoing, desperate hopes now rest on Donald Trump, despite his past support for Israel and controversial vision of Gaza. According to The Guardian, Trump, uniquely influential over Netanyahu, could pressure Israel to lift aid restrictions immediately or push for a ceasefire. Haunting images of skeletal children and starving aid workers underscore the urgency. While Israel blames bottlenecks, the UN cites deadly blockades and targeted attacks on those seeking food. Trump alone holds the leverage. The Guardian says in an upcoming meeting, the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, must urge Trump to act. Appealing to Trump's Peace Prize ambitions may be key. This is a moment of moral clarity, they say. The people of Gaza cannot wait. Now, to unpack the complex intersections of diplomacy, conflict, and statehood recognition, we are joined by two distinguished voices. Dr. Mohammed Osman is an international relations specialist who joins us from Cairo, and Ihsan El-Khatib is a political science professor joining us from Kentucky. Thank you very much, both of you, for being here with us. We'll start with you, Dr. Osman. How would you characterize the latest round of ceasefire discussions between Hamas, Israel, and international mediators?
Thank you for having me, Mark. Greetings to you and to Dr. Al-Khatib and to your honorable audience. The last rounds of negotiations, well, they were very confusing and perplexing even to me. to be very blunt and honest with you, Mark, because we have been hearing reports for the past couple of weeks that the negotiations are moving in a very positive direction, that there are constructive developments. We've been hearing this from Arab sources, from Palestinian sources, even from Israeli and American sources. And the moment Hamas submitted its final reply or response to the finalized proposal for a 60-day ceasefire and a detainee exchange deal. And reportedly, Hamas has demonstrated remarkable flexibility, giving many concessions with regards to Israel's deployment inside the Gaza Strip, or rather redeployment rather, of troops in the Gaza Strip. We were surprised that Israel withdrew or recalled its delegation in Doha for consultations. And then we were baffled by an announcement by Steve Witkoff that the United States is pulling out of the negotiating process. And then President Trump reaffirming what Witkoff said and threatening Hamas, telling them that we will hunt you down and we will eliminate you. So it's rather crazy. And at the same time, we find the Palestinian sources and Arab sources still stressing, including Egyptian sources, that the negotiations are ongoing, that they did not collapse yet, despite the US pull out of the negotiations. So it seems this might be a power play by the Americans in order to extract more concessions from Hamas. Israelis and the Americans jointly deciding to pressure Hamas in order to exact more concessions over the next couple of weeks before reaching an actual ceasefire, or it might all be a ruse, and this might be the case. That it might be a big act of deception by both the United States and Israel to appease the families of the detainees, the Israeli detainees, to appease the Israeli opposition, to appease even Western public opinion that has grown sick of the images and the footage and the display of carnage that comes out of the Gaza Strip due to Israel's vile behavior. So it might be that, and at the end of the day, they would blame the failure of the negotiations on Hamas in order to undertake the rest of their mission, and that is the not only the defeat of Hamas, which I do not believe is even possible at this point because they already destroyed most of capabilities, they cannot do any more than that, but to actually depopulate the Gaza Strip, ethnically cleanse the Palestinians out of the Gaza Strip, and realize Israel's expansionist, neo-colonial, genocidal designs, it appears.
Okay,
So that's my take, Mark.
Okay, well, let's come to Professor Al-Khatib for his take. What's your assessment of where we are with the ceasefire negotiations? And Trump has said Hamas doesn't want a deal, they want to die. Where are we now, would you say, Professor?
I think the issue is that Hamas has not been defeated. From day one, the Americans advised the Israelis not to enter Gaza because the issue is Gaza is densely populated. A lot of casualties will be on the Palestinian side, a lot of casualties on the Israeli side. And they told the Israelis that if they occupy Gaza, they'll be responsible for running Gaza, and there'll be guerrilla warfare from Hamas against them for years to come. The Israelis usually tell the Americans, give us the money, give us weapons, and keep the advice to yourself. We don't care. So they enter Gaza, and we find ourselves in this position. Hamas can fight a guerrilla warfare for years. They have built the most extensive tunnel system in human history. They learned from the Viet Cong, from the Vietnamese about the usefulness of a tunnel network to fight a bigger army, and they have successfully done that, actually. Hamas has brilliantly developed a way to fight back a much bigger power and still is in the fight. But what the Israelis have done is retaliate against the population in a very blatant way. They really don't care about the reputation at all. Reputation is destroyed. They're starving children. They're killing children. They're bombing hospitals. They have demolished the strip. But still, Hamas is in the tunnels. This is not the end of the fight. The pressure is international pressure is on the U.S. to end this war and this war on the Palestinian civilians, actually. That's what the Israeli war is, on the people of Gaza. And as I agree with everything your guest from Egypt said, they want to ethnically cleanse Gaza, take over the land. They don't want the people. So they want to kill as many people, starve as many people, and then have the rest removed from Gaza. But that's not going to work. I mean, they really have a big hole, and they keep on digging, the Israelis. And the huge problem is that the U.S. is not pressuring the Israelis. What's happening is not good for the Palestinians. It's not good for the Israelis, actually, and the Gazans are paying the price, but Hamas is in the tunnels, and Hamas can fight for years. The approach of Trump, the way Trump thinks of the situation, is that this is not America's war. He thinks, just like with Ukraine, this is not America's war. These wars can continue for years. They don't affect American national interests. And the Israelis are paying the price, the Palestinians are paying the price. So why should the U.S. lose sleep over it? He thinks that Trump thinks that Hamas is the weak side. They should give up and just let the Israelis do whatever. But I don't think Hamas thinks that it's losing the fight. Guerrilla warfare can last for years. That's the American assessment, intelligence assessment. But the biggest problem, the only problem I see, is that really the suffering of the population, immense suffering of the population. That's the real problem.
And Dr. Osman, are Hamas now looking weak? I mean, they're claiming that the talks are ongoing, yet the U.S. negotiating team has been recalled. What do you think is happening behind the scenes here?
The negotiations, theoretically at least, can go on without the United States because there are two other mediators, that is Egypt and Qatar, and actually they are the principal mediators. The United States is the necessary mediator, because they are the only ones who can apply actual pressure on the Israelis. However, they are actually part to the conflict more than they are a mediator, because they are basically enabling Israel to continue this war and have bankrolled this war since the beginning with billions of dollars worth of ammunitions and weapons that were used to butcher tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians. So theoretically, they can go on. They might be still going on since Israel did not officially announce that they have withdrew from the negotiations so far. They might in the next few days, and this will determine where this is going. However, all the indications say that there will be, or the sources at least, Arab sources at least, say that there will be another round of negotiations next week. That might still be the case, but I do not think that we are that the principal stakeholders on the other side, being the United States and Israel, are that serious anymore about this negotiations. And I would like to reiterate what Dr. Al-Khatib just said with regards to the United States not really caring about what's going on in Gaza. At the end of the day, this is a war that is happening thousands of miles away from the United States. It does not pose any imminent threat to U.S. interests in the region. And as long as Israel can carry on this war with impunity, of course, thanks to U.S. support, then they can go ahead. Trump said several times that each and every other war is not his war. He attempts to step in to play peacemaker. He tries and fails miserably as usual. Then he pulls out, and that's after making the situation worse. Actually, this happened in Ukraine. This is happening now in Gaza. This might even happen in future conflicts that we are witnessing all around the world. So we will assess whether these negotiations are serious or not, and whether they are actually still ongoing or not by next week, when whether this session will convene or not will determine whether the negotiations are still going on. However, I do believe that the U.S. withdrawal from the negotiations is a very alarming sign. It is a very irresponsible initiative or endeavor by the Americans, whether it's a power play or an actual genuine decision to pull out of the negotiations. It will be to the detriment of the Palestinians and to the success of the negotiation itself. And I still do believe that the end game here is the complete destruction of Gaza and the depopulation of Gaza. This is the ultimate aim of Israel which is supported and officially adopted by the United States. We should never forget that. The United States never walked back its position on the idea of displacing the Palestinians from Gaza and turning it into Mr. Trump's Riviera. No one has walked back from these statements or stances.
Well, I want to come on to Palestinian statehood and what the French are doing, but Professor El-Khatib, I'll let you come back on what Dr. Osman just said.
Yes, I agree with everything he said. The Israelis are, I think, but the only thing I disagree with him is I don't think the Israelis are in a good position at all. I mean, the Israelis have soldiers have signed up to fight. The Hamas fighters and other factions have signed up to fight and die. But the population didn't sign up to be starved and bombed. I mean, this is not normal in a conflict that you starve and bomb civilian people as a weapon of war. And that's not a legitimate use. That's not moral. It's not legal. It's just not acceptable to do that. And the Israelis have really put themselves in a really bad position. I don't think the Israelis are winning. It's a catastrophe for Israel. It's a catastrophe for Jews everywhere. It's embarrassing. I mean, people watching on TV, starving children, while there's a ton of food, tons of food waiting to enter Gaza. So this is a shame, actually, for Israelis and for Jews, actually, worldwide, that the only state, Jewish state in the world, and it's doing that. This is not helping the Israelis. I mean, they're not any closer. I mean, I agree with your guest. From Egypt, the Israelis really not any closer to achieving any of their goals. I mean, their detainees in Gaza are in tunnels, probably they're dying. They haven't succeeded at forcefully removing them. They're not any closer to getting the Palestinians out of Gaza because Egypt said, don't even dream of it. It's not going to happen. We're not going to help you with that. So what do they do? I mean, there are 2 million people in Gaza. Who's going to feed them? Who's going to take care of them? Israelis are the occupying power. It's just an insane situation that they're buying time. They keep on doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. Definition of insanity. I don't think the Israelis are in a good position. It's a failure of leadership on the American side. The American side should be the cool-headed people who look at the situation and say, okay, this is enough. The Israelis are, for political reasons, for personal reasons, the Israeli government is doing this, but this is not good for them. This is not good for us. It's not good for the Palestinians. We have to put an end to it. But unfortunately, Trump is not being a leader that takes charge. And even The Economist, which is biased to the Israelis, it's a right-wing British publication, it wrote that Trump has to pressure the Israelis. The lack of pressure on the Israelis is the problem. But are the Israelis in a good position? I don't think they are. They're definitely not in a good position. I think Hamas is not in a bad position either. But the population, the Gaza population is paying a huge price. And that is the real tragedy in this story.
To you, Dr. Osman, the Trump administration has come out very, very strongly backing Netanyahu's hardline rejection of any recognizing of a Palestinian state. Why are they so strong, do you think, backing Netanyahu on this issue?
Because this particular U.S. administration is not even properly committed to the two-state solution. This is the first U.S. administration, or the second, if we count President Trump's first term 4.5 years ago. President Trump, Trump 101 and Trump 201, both of them rejected or announced very openly that they are not committed to the two-state solution and that they have to think outside the box. And you remember the deal of the century. Now we are speaking about Rivieras and the complete displacement and the liquidation of Palestinian statehood, and thinking that the annexation of the West Bank could be a good idea, and treating Gaza as a nice piece of sea view real estate. We have heard all of these statements, whether on Trump's lips himself or on from the mouths of very prominent members of his administration and inner circle. So it seems that he is not committed to Palestinian statehood to begin with, as opposed to previous U.S. administrations and the United States' historical stance on this since the Oslo Accords, which was commitment to the idea of the two-state solution. And also the United States does not agree to the generally, even before Trump, the June 1967 borders as a permanent border for the state of Palestine. They do believe that the Israelis can keep some parts, some of their settlements at least. They do believe that the entirety of Jerusalem is the undivided capital of the state of Israel, and Trump saw to that by officially transferring the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem about 5 years ago or 6 years ago. So you see that the United States is not really committed to the idea. So the expansion of international recognition of the Palestinian state is not something the United States will take positively. At least they can care less. I think that France's gesture it has great symbolic value. It is a moral boost for the Palestinian cause, yet it has no effect on the ground given the current situation where actually international law and international organizations and instruments have no effect anymore. Now we are speaking in a world where real politics rules the day, where raw power moves everything around, unfortunately. And of course, Israel has secured the support of the greatest and the most powerful country in the history of humanity, that is the United States. So they can do pretty much, unfortunately, whatever they want. President Trump said that President Macron's or France's planned recognition does not carry any weight, and he, of course, started calling Macron names as usual, because that's the way Trump does it, unfortunately. However, it is really descriptive of the and reflective as well of the very dire moment that we are in, unfortunately.
Okay.
Expanded recognition of Palestinian statehood, it is of great symbolic value, yet it will not save the day on its own.
Okay, Professor El-Khatib, what do you make of France's decision? Of course, they've announced that in September at the UN they will recognize Palestine as a state, sending many American politicians, even at the top, with Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, going crazy about this. What do you make of France's decision and the reaction in the United States? And how is it being received on the ground by people who aren't politicians in the United States?
I don't think I agree with most of what Dr. Osman said, except one thing about it's only Trump. It's just a Trump problem. I don't think it's a Trump problem. I think the issue is that the U.S. has always managed the conflict. The U.S. doesn't work on solving the conflict. It's the conflict management. And the most honest, I think, American politician on this issue has been Senator Mitt Romney, who ran for president against Obama. And what Mitt Romney said, all that the U.S. does is kicking the can down the road. It's basically just buying time. The U.S. cannot force a decision or a plan on the Israelis, and that's why it's ongoing. It's just they're managing, but the problem is that there's a right-wing extreme government in Israel that has went beyond all bounds and accelerated the process. There used to be low pace of stealing land, and building settlements in the West Bank, but then what happened now is that it's a high temperature, that they have escalated the war on the Palestinians in a way which is unprecedented with the genocide. Now, with the French say that this is just to help the two-state solution, to help the peace process, and that they see that there's a horrible situation and they want to be part of the solution by recognizing a Palestinian state, which is really good. Actually, it does help. It has a lot of, as Dr. Osman said, moral weight, symbolic weight. This is a member of the UN Security Council. This is the most important country so far to recognize Palestine. And not only that, they are actually lobbying the French, which is making the US mad and the Israelis mad, is the importance of France. And in addition to that, is that the French are lobbying to convince other countries to actually also recognize Palestine. So that is making the Israelis really upset, really angry. And the level of anger tells you something. The more angry they are, the more significant this recognition is. And the U.S., I think the U.S., I don't think the people of the U.S., they really care too much. I don't think that we have 140 countries already that recognize Palestine. I agree with you, with Dr. Osman, that really France recognizing Palestine is not going to change anything on the ground.
Okay, and coming back to you, Dr. Osman, I mean, Macron must have known that he was going to get fury from the United States. This shows quite a bit of strength and for him to decide to do this anyway. And also, do you think it might have some kind of effect on countries nearby? There's a lot of pressure in the United Kingdom from the general public and from some politicians, some members of parliament, for the United Kingdom to do the same. Can you see that happening?
Uh, maybe the United Kingdom will join in the fray because it seems that Prime Minister Starmer, he pledged to recognize Palestine jointly with the French at some point. However, it seems that the French grew tired of the British reluctance, and they decided to take the step on their own in September. Like, why didn't they recognize it yesterday or today? No one knows. But in September, it's as if we're buying time until the Israelis finish the job. Unfortunately, that's the only way I'm seeing it. It's very stupid, to be honest. And I'm going to be very blunt with you, Mark. It is something that is symbolic, but it is absolutely of no actual consequence. But at the end of the day, Starmer is in London, is under immense pressure, especially from his own party, MPs of the Labour Party, which, as of recently at least, have been very supportive and sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, have been pressuring Starmer to take this step. And he might do just that. But on the other hand, there are the Jewish lobbies in Europe and many other political circles in Europe, in the European Union and in Britain, are lobbying strongly against this. And some European heavyweights as well, like Germany, opposes this and is actually working against it, working against the idea of universal European recognition of Palestinian statehood, unfortunately. So it seems that the situation is not as simple as anyone might think. And all of this bickering and squabbling is over a symbolic gesture. And like France indeed is a P5 member who's recognized Palestine or will recognize Palestine. It is something of great importance. But guess what? Two other P5 members recognize Palestine as well, the Russian Federation and China, the second most powerful country in the world. And what good did it do to the Palestinians at the end of the day? Nothing. So I believe this is something that is of great symbolic value. However, if they want the Europeans to make a difference and to actually be a determinant of change or a factor of change in the current calculus, they can start by taking actual action against Israel's on legal grounds.
Okay. Well, I just want to bring in Professor El-Khatib, just because we've just got a minute or two left. Can you see, going back to where we started, will the Americans be back at the table for the negotiations?
Yes, what they said is it's not the end of the negotiation. It's they left for consultation. That's what they said. I think negotiations are ongoing indirectly. I'm not pessimistic. I look at the zoom in, zoom out. I don't think the Israelis are winning. I don't think the Israelis are in a good place at all. Actually, they look between the river and the sea. Yes, there's 7 to 8 million Palestinians. But where are they going to go? I mean, the Israelis think that killing children and starving children, that's not a victory. This is actually a disaster for the Zionist enterprise. I think it's a heavy price. It's a massive price. I think what's happening in Gaza shows the genius of Hamas, this network of tunnels, the hundreds of miles. This is military genius. The Israelis are unable to defeat the organization with minimal resources, with ton of money from the Americans, a ton of weapons from the Americans, and still this small group of people. How many fighters? They have 30,000. Israel has 400,000 fighters. So I'm not pessimistic at all. It's painful to see children starve, women starve, people killed, demolished Gaza. But really, this is an ongoing fight. This is not the end of it. The Israelis are in a very bad spot. They're a pariah state. They accused of genocide. I mean, the televised genocide. This is not good. The Palestinians are still in Gaza. They're not going anywhere. Who's going to build Gaza? Egypt said, no way, we're not going to take them. So therefore, the Israelis are in a hard spot now. What they're going to do with 2 million people? I think the Israelis are in a bad position. The Palestinians have paid a huge price, but I don't think this is the end of the fight. I think the Israelis are not winning,
Okay.
and the Palestinians have not been defeated either.
Well, thank you very much, both of you, for joining us here for this discussion. Dr. Mohammed Osman, joining us from Cairo, and Professor Ihsan El-Khatib as well, joining us from Kentucky. Thank you both for being part of the program. And that's all for this episode of In Depth. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more updates on Q News.